Like and subscribe to support the channel. Donations welcome.
The preceding sections have outlined the procedures for voter registration, eligibility requirements, and voting methods. However, the right to vote is not merely a procedural matter. It is a fundamental right, often fiercely contested and sometimes actively suppressed. This section delves into the potential obstacles to voting, examining the insidious tactics of voter suppression and the robust legal framework designed to protect this essential right. Voter suppression takes many forms, often subtly undermining the democratic process. One common tactic involves manipulating voting districts through gerrymandering, a process of redrawing electoral boundaries to favor a particular party or group. This can effectively dilute the voting power of certain communities, making it harder for their voices to be heard. While the Supreme Court has addressed gerrymandering in several cases, including Rucho v. Common Cause 2019, the issue remains a persistent challenge, particularly in states with partisan control over the redistricting process. The court's decision in Rucho highlighted the difficulties in establishing justiciable standards for partisan gerrymandering, leaving many to seek remedies through state-level litigation or legislative action. Another insidious form of voter suppression involves the strategic placement or removal of polling places. Restricting access to polling places, particularly in minority communities or areas with a high concentration of low-income voters, can create significant barriers to participation. Limited polling locations, coupled with long lines and inadequate staffing, can disenfranchise voters who lack the time or resources to overcome these obstacles. Legal challenges to such practices have been successful in some instances, where courts have mandated the provision of more accessible polling places. However, proving discriminatory intent, a necessary element in many such lawsuits, remains a significant hurdle. Strict voter ID laws also present substantial challenges to voters. While proponents argue these laws are necessary to prevent voter fraud, critics contend they disproportionately affect low-income individuals and minority groups who may lack the necessary identification documents. The impact of voter ID laws has been a subject of intense legal debate and litigation, with numerous cases reaching the Supreme Court. These cases often hinge on the balance between protecting the integrity of elections and ensuring equal access to the ballot box. The lack of a uniform national standard concerning acceptable identification further exacerbates the issue, resulting in considerable variation across jurisdictions. Furthermore, the complexity of election procedures and the variation across jurisdictions can create unintentional barriers to voting. Confusing instructions, limited language access, and inaccessible polling places pose significant challenges for many citizens. These difficulties disproportionately affect voters with disabilities, limited English proficiency, or those lacking readily available transportation or technological resources. Efforts to improve election accessibility, including providing multilingual materials, accessible polling places, and simplified registration processes, are crucial in ensuring broad participation. Litigation challenging inaccessible voting systems has played a significant role in mandating improvements in this area. Beyond these procedural obstacles, voter intimidation is a serious threat to the right to vote. Instances of intimidation, often targeting specific communities, undermine the democratic process and discourage participation. The use of threats, harassment, and even violence can effectively prevent individuals from exercising their right to vote, suppressing their voices, and distorting election outcomes. Combating voter intimidation necessitates robust enforcement of laws protecting voters from harassment and intimidation, and prompt and decisive action from law enforcement agencies when such actions are reported. Legal challenges to intimidation tactics can be pursued, but these often rely on the availability of evidence and witness testimony, making prosecution challenging. The Voting Rights Act of 1965, a landmark piece of legislation, aimed to address historic and systemic voter suppression tactics targeting racial minorities. The act prohibited discriminatory practices, such as literacy tests and poll taxes, which had long been used to disenfranchise black voters. The Supreme Court's decision in Shelby County v. Holder, 2013, significantly weakened the act's preclearance provision, removing the requirement for certain jurisdictions with a history of discrimination to obtain federal approval before implementing changes to their voting laws. This decision has resulted in renewed concerns about potential voter suppression tactics in these jurisdictions. Subsequent legal challenges have sought to address the resulting gap in protection, focusing on proving discriminatory intent and impact. The legal challenges to voter suppression tactics are often complex and nuanced, requiring a thorough understanding of constitutional law, federal and state statutes, and election procedures. The judiciary plays a vital role in adjudicating these cases, weighing competing interests and interpreting the constitutional guarantees of equal protection and the right to vote. Supreme Court decisions in this area have often yielded narrow majorities, demonstrating the contentious nature of these issues. The ongoing debate surrounding voter suppression highlights the persistent need for vigilance in protecting the fundamental right to vote and ensuring a fair and democratic electoral process. Legal scholars and civil rights advocates continue to engage in robust legal and political advocacy to address voter suppression. This includes filing lawsuits challenging restrictive voting laws, lobbying for legislation that enhances voting access, and engaging in voter education initiatives. The fight to protect the right to vote is a continuous endeavor, demanding ongoing vigilance and the active participation of citizens, legal professionals, and policymakers. Understanding the legal mechanisms for challenging voter suppression and the ongoing legal battles surrounding voting rights are vital in safeguarding this cornerstone of American democracy. The protection of the right to vote requires a multifaceted approach. It demands not only robust legal frameworks, but also the active engagement of citizens, election officials, and civil rights organizations. Voters must understand their rights and actively challenge attempts at disenfranchisement. Election officials have a responsibility to ensure fair and equitable access to the ballot box for all eligible citizens, and civil rights organizations play a critical role in monitoring election procedures, providing legal assistance to voters facing barriers, and advocating for policy changes that strengthen voting rights. The ongoing struggle to protect this fundamental right serves as a testament to its importance and the continued need for vigilant safeguarding of this cornerstone of American democracy. The future of voting rights requires continuous attention and adaptation to evolving challenges. Emerging technologies, changing demographics, and evolving political landscapes all necessitate a dynamic approach to protecting this essential right. Legal scholars, policymakers, and citizens must collaborate to ensure the right to vote remains a tangible reality for all eligible citizens, free from undue barriers and insidious suppression tactics. This vigilance, coupled with a commitment to fair and equitable election administration, will be crucial in preserving the integrity of the democratic process and ensuring the continued participation of all citizens in shaping the future of our nation. The right to vote is not merely a privilege, it is the foundation upon which our democratic republic stands, and its preservation is a responsibility we must collectively and continuously embrace.
Like and subscribe for more content.